Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to Apply. All right, so today I have CK Zheng on the line, and he's founder and chief investment officer over at ZX Squared Capital Management. And this interview is part of our iConnections Miami series, where we bring you the best of those who attended and participated at iConnections over in Miami. CK, welcome to the show.
Adam, thank you for having me. It's a great pleasure speaking with you today.
All right, so we got a lot to talk about today. We're talking about one of the topics that I love to get into. So we're going to get into Bitcoin. We're going to get into Bitcoin volatility and what you're doing at ZX Squared Capital Management. But to get us started here, iConnections in Miami. What's your connection to the conference, the event, the platform? Have you been in the past? Is this the first time? Give us some of the history, please.
Yeah, actually, I like iConnection. This is my second year. I started last year in 3 venues. Actually, you start from Miami, in New York, and Singapore. I really enjoyed Singapore in last November. Well, obviously, at that time, Bitcoin was close to record high. A lot of interest in Bitcoin.
So you were quite popular then, huh?
Yeah, it's a lot of good discussion. But right now, actually, after 40% pullback, probably even better time right now. Some people get scared, but I think it's probably a much better time to invest.
And we're going to get into that too, by the way. I want to definitely get your opinion on why you feel that it's a good time. But before we do, just sticking on that topic a little bit longer, second year with iConnections, what keeps you coming back? What do you feel makes this platform special?
I think the format actually is great because you can directly reach to the right managers. If they're interested, they obviously have the preference. Either they want to talk to you or they don't want to talk to you if they're not interested. So you don't waste time. You don't want social around with people who are not interested in what you're talking about.
Yeah. I have to agree with that. I've gotten that feedback from quite a few people, especially because the app and the online platform is just so people are pretty straight up for it. Like, this is what you do. If they're not interested, they're not going to waste your time. They don't want to waste theirs either. So I feel it like it's very efficient. But this is my first event attending was the Miami one. So that's my first understanding of it. But it sounds to me like I'm right. It's very efficient. Yeah.
Wow. So you definitely should go to New York and Singapore. I think they're all great.
Oh, yeah.
Different flavor. And the participants are all professional. They have so many different angles to look at any asset class. So virtually you can meet any type of potential investors and with different kind of preference as well. So
yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, last year was the first year. Actually, interesting you bring up Singapore, CK. Last year was the first time I went to Singapore. I went for the Milken Asian Summit. We've been covering the Milken conference for many, many years as well. And so I went out there and I just fell in love with the place. I'm like, why don't I live here? Like, this is nice, but I don't have enough work out there yet, CK. So it's not happening. But one day, who knows?
I grew up
in Los Angeles. They still want me here.
No, the good thing is that I grew up in Asia. I grew up in Shanghai area. So I travel in the last 30 years, every year to Asia, whether Singapore, Hong Kong, everywhere. It's a very interesting dynamic, which is a little bit different than in North America.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's switch it up a bit here today. I do want to get into ZX Squared Capital Management. So I know that you're the founder and chief investment officer. First, maybe tell me a little bit about the history of the firm. So why did you found the firm?
Sure. Actually, it's very interesting. The reason I found it is from what I actually met with 2 of my current partners. They just graduated from college about 10 years ago. And we all, one of my partners today, actually, they grew up in the same region in China. And I was a panel discussion at the University of Chicago in the business school, talk about the U.S.-China relationship and so forth. And we kind of met and they talk about, hey, we're thinking about the crypto and the crypto project. And soon after, they created 2 projects, crypto projects. One actually now listed in Coinbase, one is listed in Binance, 2 of the largest exchange. At that time, 10 years ago, I worked on Wall Street. I was not 100% convinced Bitcoin is going to stick. I obviously communicated with 2 of my partners at that time, and I would keep eye on it. The year make huge difference was 2020. I find that 2020 was a year I would say Bitcoin will be stick around. 2021, we created our fund. The reason was Bitcoin options start to develop.
Mm-hmm.
And from my education background, I find that anytime when you have an option market develop an asset class, that asset class is going to grow exponentially, whether it's equity in the 1970s or fixed income 1980s or credit in 1990s. 2020 is starting. At that time, Bitcoin option volume probably is about $1 billion or $2 billion monthly transaction volume. Today, it's like 100 times more option volume. Yeah, and the reason I find interesting is we try to solve two problems using option. One is how to reduce the Bitcoin volatility by half so people can manage the normal kind of risky asset, because if a market crash in Bitcoin, it can draw down 80%. The people just have no stomach for it. Mm-hmm. The second is, if you reduce the volatility, how you still outperform Bitcoin. And that's what we try to solve the problem, right? You reduce the volatility, but you still want to outperform Bitcoin in the kind of 4-year cycle. And then we find a solution says, okay, if we know how the Bitcoin system working in the bull and the bear and the neutral market, we design an option strategy, how to reduce drawdowns, how to reduce the volatility, but in a bull market, we make sure we outperform Bitcoin by participate or the bullish sentiment. And we're kind of data driven. So try to make sure we understand how the dynamic works, in a bear market, in a bull market, in neutral market.
Why, circling back to the market present day, why do you think 2026 is a great year to invest in Bitcoin? Like why?
If you know most of the investor, if it's a long-term investor, you buy when market distress, right? It's pretty simple. Mm-hmm. People know how to buy the dip in equity. So even go back to April, when market dropped 15%, a lot of people just buy it. And now it's genius, right? Bitcoin, typical 4-year cycle. So if you look at the history of Bitcoin, it's only 17 years. So it's not that much data out there. You can look at every 4 years. So the previous cycle, 2022, was a bottom. And actually, I was probably one of the early hedge fund managers say, the day after FTX blew up, default, it was a bottom when Bitcoin was 16,000. I wrote an article in Cointelegraph, say that, and a lot of people laugh at me, say, what do you not? Bitcoin goes zero. Same thing, if you go back to 2018, that was the previous cycle's low. Today, 2026 is another kind of a bear market for Bitcoin. If people follow the 4-year cycle, I know a lot of large brokerage firms could say 4-year cycle is dead, which may be dead for a lot of institutional investors in their mindset, but for a lot of individual investors, it still play out like a 4-year cycle. So when market drop in the 4-year cycle in the bottom of the bear market, that's the perfect time to invest in Bitcoin. Now the question obviously is, how do I know it's a bottom? Right. Nobody knows it's a bottom, right?
Yeah.
Normally I would say this is a year going to hit the bottom. So I would say most likely between now and the year end, it's going to revisit the previous low, which is 60,000 a few weeks ago, probably retest 60,000. Market maybe, from today, maybe have another 20 to 30% drawdown potential. Depends how the whole macroeconomic condition goes. But I think a lot of the investor or institutional investor, especially who actually missed out the last year, thought that they missed the train. Now you have a second life to get into this year.
Talk a little bit more about reducing risk and maybe some of the strategy behind that.
Option market is great. Ever since the Black-Scholes model, when you come up a way to using options to dynamically hedge your risk, and there's so many different ways to manage your risk, obviously. Simplest way to do it is you can do a cover call, sell cover call, right? That's one way. If it's range bound, you can do call and put collar for different type of strategy. Depends how you put your strategy together. You can also participate a bull market by, call option, but you need to think about how to balance your premium because typically option premium is very high. So if you don't know what you're doing, you buy option, not necessarily make your money, more likely you're going to lose money. So you have to figure out what's the best way to reduce your volatility. One, if it's a bear market, and you have to see how is your model going to tell you is imminent bear market or is a short-term blip or is a more long-term distress. And that makes a difference how you put your portfolio together.
Yeah. Man, CK, this is great. It's been fun having you on the show today and learning more about your background. Also, what you're doing in Bitcoin. I think it's super interesting and a good reminder for what's going on. I'm just curious as we're going to blink and before we're going to be in Q2, right? So while I have you on the line, I'm just curious as we go into Q2, what's on your mind? What are the kind of conversations being had inside your firm right now?
Well, obviously, the top priority is figure out what the current Iran war going to impact the bigger picture, right? Mm-hmm. So this is something clearly everybody tries to sorting out, and it's a huge implication in terms of oil price. And oil price right now is go crazy, probably much more volatile than Bitcoin. Overnight like a 30% up and down. So I think the oil price can figure out, then people have to figure out whether inflation is going to be a big component in terms of this year, how that's going to play out. Mm-hmm. Today, Bitcoin is still a risky asset. I don't think it's a store of value today or, digital gold yet. It's still very early because adoption is still very early. Mm-hmm. The institutional investor right now, probably much less than 1% of allocation to digital assets. Mm-hmm. Even like Harvard University is one of the pioneers in investing in crypto. It's still only less than probably 400 million in crypto, so which is less than 1% of their asset value. Mm-hmm. So there's so much more. The good thing today is the administration is very pro-crypto. So I think the last year, the Genius Act is great. It helps with the stablecoin. I think the coming Clarity Act hopefully can get more institutional, especially Wall Street firm in the space. I think that's going to be huge. Now people talk about AI. So there's quite about the AI agent discussion, how the agents are going to use stablecoin, using blockchain to pay the future payment, instead of using the traditional kind of money. I think these all will be great for the future of crypto. So I'm very bullish in crypto if we kind of take care of the bear market today.
Yeah. CK, this has been great. How do if my audience wants to follow up, they want to connect and they want to learn more about your firm, ZX Squared Capital Management, how do they do that?
They can find me in LinkedIn or they can find my firm, 2.io.
Wonderful. For everybody listening, just so you know, we'll definitely put some links in the show notes so that you can just click on the links and head right on over and connect with CK and his team. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Yes, you heard me right. Each and every day, we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way in your journey as well. So hit that subscribe or follow button. And CK, man, appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam.